Very good morning, 8Cs, receiving students and teachers.
Good morning, Miss Irma.
Right, thank you. You may sit down. All right, this morning we have a guest speaker from the National Disaster Center. He is the Assistant Director of the National Disaster Center, and he is Mr. Kaigabu Kamnanaya. All right, now, this morning, Mr. Kaigabu Kamnanaya will be addressing to us and to the community out there the types of the disasters in which our country faces and how we can avoid, or how the National Disaster Center assists the community when such disaster arises. All right, so we'll have Mr. Kaigabu. Thank you.
Okay, come on. I use this one. I use this one. Okay. Thank you, beautiful teacher, and also beautiful Papua New Guinea future leaders. I'm also privileged on behalf of the government, particularly National Disaster Center, to be here, maybe to kill two birds with one stone. That is to inform you as students as part of learning, also through the media, to go out those within the classroom to know what's happening. So it's another way, this is part of teaching for learning, also part of awareness. This morning, we'll be looking at disaster in Papua New Guinea. We're looking at common natural hazards in Papua New Guinea. My request is that you concentrate. Later on, these things will be put into notice, will be given to you. And disasters, the hazards cause in Papua New Guinea. How to manage ourselves from the effects of those disasters. What is a hazard? Can I have some rough guess from the students? What is hazard? Raise your hand. Yes, sir.
Hazards are dangerous conditions or events that can cause injury, loss of life, and damage to property, agriculture, and the environment.
Dangerous. The key word is dangerous. Anything dangerous that causes damage to life, property, anything, that's a good answer. Hazard is the potential for an event of a natural or human cause to occur with note negative consequences, not positive. Anything that can produce a negative, likely to produce negative, anything out there that's likely to cause negative consequences, it's a hazard. Another word, potential event occurring with adverse results. Basically, same meaning on communities. When I say communities, I mean people, properties, environment, resources. This forms part and parcel of the community. If there is no potential danger occurring or likely to occur, it is not a hazard. If there is no potential danger occurring or likely to occur, that particular creature, whatever, monster, whatever, is not a hazard. There are two basic kinds of hazards, and they are understood by the mechanisms they make up, or their potential negative consequences. They are understood by the nature of their causes. They are understood by the nature of causes. I said two kinds. One, natural hazard. The potential for natural caused event to occur with negative consequences. That's the first one. interrupt me if you're not too sure. The factors or causes that give or may give effects to some hazardous events is naturally generated and not created or triggered by non-natural hazards or non-natural mechanism is a natural hazard. Anything of a non-natural, anything that triggers disaster out of non-natural is natural hazard. Understood? Okay. The next one is the non-natural hazard. The potential for human caused event to occur with negative consequences. Human caused, potential human caused event with negative consequences. The key words you have to look at this. They will be coming in your notes later on. Anything non-natural hazard is obviously caused by human activities. Birds cannot create anything that can cause us dangers. Only we human beings. Anything we create that can cause us danger or harm, it's human cause or non-natural cause. Hazard is not a, again, hazard is not a, I want to understand this. Hazard is not a disaster. Beer is not sin. It is only sin after you drink it. The effects of it you create, cause other things, become sin. Hazard is not sin, not disaster. It's only the effects, the product of the hazard that caused for the community, and the effects of it, it is a disaster. Is it understood? Example, Manam volcano. The Manam mountain island, in itself a mountain, it's not a disaster. It's a hazard. That hazard is called, again, volcano. When Manam volcano erupts, the eruptive products from the volcano, such as pyroclastical flows or lava or ash, when these products, volcanic products taken from the magma out and poured onto Manam Island, affecting the people, environment, and other things, the effects of the Manam hazard then causes disaster. But Manam volcano itself is not a disaster. It's a, we are there. Example 2, where will you find cyclone? Anyone from Mumbai here? You are there, my one, we are in danger of volcano. Cyclone. Cyclone is a natural hazard. It is not a natural disaster. It's a natural hazard, and it's not a natural disaster. The situation only becomes a disaster if and when the impact of the cyclone affecting the community, and the community facing the hardship or sin, then the situation itself becomes a disaster. I repeat again. When the impact of cyclone through strong wind, high waves, or tidal waves, sometimes they call it, include the heavy downpour of water or rain on communities. The effects of what the cyclone causes is a natural disaster. But the cyclone in itself is not a disaster, but it's a hazard. Are you clear with this differentiation? Thank you very much. Of course, we do often refer to the situation, or that's the cyclone disaster. That's a volcanic disaster. But I just want to see, when you look at this, once you know the difference, and when you come up to what to deal with them, you'll be able to deal with them. Some examples. That's the hazards in Papua New Guinea. They are categorized under their triggering mechanism. When you look at the geological hazards, there are a lot of them. Then we have what we call hydrological hazards, and we have what we call meteorological hazards. Another name is atmospheric. And we have biological hazards. We have human-caused hazards. So these are some of the things happen in hazards in Papua New Guinea. For the purpose of our lesson today, we will be looking at natural hazard and, of course, the natural cause disasters and not or non-natural hazard. Geological hazards. The best basic to understand about geological hazard is anything from below the surface of the soil. Anything that causes danger from below the surface of the soil ground. Geological. So can you understand? That's the basic way to understand. So any dangers that come out below our surface where we stand. So we categorize them in order to understand. Example, volcanoes. Here you see the colors in the blue, red are the active ones, and you see the blue sleeping, snoring, but they're not up, and the white ones are dead. Maybe one day they'll become alive and they start snoring, gradually they'll start. So basically along these types of volcanoes in Papua New Guinea. The lines you see that are called plate tectonic. Right below at our bottom of our country, there are plates moving one another, somewhere. They are geologists know about it. When you go study more about geology, you'll know more about these things. So as they move, they cause friction and they cause earthquake, all these things. They are inside there. And we also have volcanoes, active volcanoes. You see, those are geological hazards down below. And they are the red ones are the main ones, the problem ones. They still blow. Mana blows, Kaka blows, Pago blows, Tavrovul blows, and what else? They still blow. But once they blow big, affect the community, becomes a disaster. They could just pop like cigarette, their own cigarette. It's not a disaster, it's just, we know it's an active hazard. This is 1994. Rabaul volcano erupting, causing the town itself become a disastrous area. These are some of the safety tips. When volcano becomes active, people living in the area should listen to the radio for advice. Because ash fall water, you have to keep some safe water somewhere. Stay indoors and keep pets indoors. As they go out, maybe your pretty dog going out, you want to go out together. Instead of doing it, you'll be caught. So it's best to keep him somewhere around. In the event of like, particularly ashes around, anyone from Rabaul area? Have you been to when the volcano erupted? Were you there? No. Your parents will tell you better. They're the good teachers. They'll tell you more because they learn from experience. So other things involved. And for the CIA, when the aircraft coming up, they'll try to restrict the energy not to fly there. Otherwise, the ash will go to engine, it will fall. Instead of flying there, it will fly down somewhere. In the case of volcano eruption, what happened? Stay indoors. Close doors. What next? What next? Okay, what it means, if you have to leave because it's danger coming up, your eyes, your thought for the thought, but there is something wet to cover you. The air is all over. So what happened? And you have to cover yourself too. Otherwise, by the time you go up there, all you yourself maybe one walking ash or something going out. So that's what it means. You cover your nose and walk. You go. Earthquake. The red part is where a lot of earthquakes. The blue part is the second active. And the green parts, the number 3 part. And the 4 parts, particularly Papuan region, but mostly, we very rarely have experienced earthquakes. So this is almost a hazard map. You look at it. Another word for earthquake is, can be understood, is seismic. This is one of the impacts of earthquake. Can we read together? In case of earthquake, what? While inside the house, what? Number 2. 3. 4. 5. Okay. While outside a building, 1.
Don't run through or near weak buildings, trees or power lines.
2.
Once in the open areas, stay there until shaking stops.
3.
If you are moving vehicle, stop as quickly as safety permits.
Or in the case of this situation here, if earthquake comes in, it's best to let the door open, not to keep it closed, because sometimes it can jam and you cannot open it. So what if it's collapsing, you want to go out, there's no way to go out. And the best way, if this is the place here, because some structure, somewhere along the line here, or somewhere else, so that other things will not fall through here while in the building. Or if your table is so strong, it's best to go to the table. Anything like fan falling over, anything that can easily fall, it can fall on the table while you're there. It will be a matter of 5 seconds or 8 seconds. When shaking stops, 1.
Make sure that you move out of the building orderly.
Note, orderly. Not who's going to go first, going to come, no. Orderly. So maybe, because we don't have but you should practice. In case something happens like fire, how the teacher going to coordinate you? Orderly. Maybe we move on. This will come in now. Tsunami. Ipatao, that's the Angan words. What happened? That landslide fall on the lake. It caused a wave in the lake, and that wave went up and also affected some buildings and killed people. Can we call this Papua New Guinea where Ipatao or tsunami type? Because tsunami is a bay wave at the sea. This is not bay; it's in right lake and right up the mountain. Can we call this Ipatao? That's the Angan words, lake threatening wave. A new thing for Papua New Guinea and the world too. And we also, part of the geological landslide. Now we come to second family of hazards. It's called hydrological. The best thing to understand hydrological is water. So now from the ground we move up to water. The hazards cause dangers from water. Flood is one. River flooding, mud flows, and coast flooding. River flooding, you look at the Pacific River, Fly River, and the rivers around Morobe, Madan, rivers around Port Moresby here, any rivers around Gulf, any rivers, it comes under river flooding. Mud flows, when water comes in, instead of water itself, it comes with soil and gravel. It's like muddy, but it's very watery. And the cost of flooding is when because of a high tide, because of sea rise effect, it affects the coast. These are the areas in Papua New Guinea. Yellow ones are the most prone areas for flooding. The green ones are flood, but not much. Before the flood, those communities in the flood-prone areas know the frequency, the onset, and extent of damages the flood has been causing in the communities in the past flood events. Therefore, they should be responsible for their lives and should plan ahead for safe allocation before the next flood. I'm also suggesting that local level governments in the flooding areas should have flood tide gates along the river, so that when it reaches a red mark, it means it's a danger, so you have to move. It's some kind of advance warning for the riverbank people. In event of a rising flood, what we're going to do? 1, next.
Those living at the lower areas or near riverbanks must leave their location and move to a higher ground.
Next.
Walking, driving,
Just a moment. In Port Moresby, young people want to go to drains and try to wash during the rain season. Let this be a lesson. Don't be smart. Maybe through such activities, you might lose your life. And your daddy, your mommy will cry. Sea rise. This is somewhere at Duke of York. Avoid unnecessary removal of coastal buffer zone. If you're from the coast, stop cutting trees. If you're somewhere around, stop. You try to protect the coast by building green belt or buffer zone, trees, everything. So that when waves come in, the trees will cushion the impact of the waves. So that your coastal plains, coastal areas will also not be flooded away or taken away. At the end of the day, your island will remain. This is some of the safety tips I'm providing. Install extra water tanks or reserve once the main water supply are polluted or contaminated. These are some of the things areas you need to get. The third one is meteorological or atmospheric hazards. Now from the water, we're going up to the air. So something air. The blue part, the most common cyclone area, it goes up right up to Australia. And the yellow part is also high. And the green, light green, the dark green, the peaceful place, insofar as the cyclone is concerned. If you said, I don't want to go to Middle Bay because cyclone place, I want to go to the green part where it's calm, that's a place you find a lot of earthquakes. This is the current cyclone. This is the eye of the cyclone. This is the tip of Australia. Before a storm or cyclone event, evacuate yourself from the low-lying areas away from high storm surge or waves. Stay indoors from flying debris or materials during the strong winds. Listen to the warnings on the radios. Avoid venturing out. Some people are excited, they want to sail. Particularly Moon Bay people, they want to get a small dinghy. When this strong wind is announced, they want to sail across to an island. Or even along the coast in Central Province, Gulf, Central Province particularly, they do the same. All right, particularly a New Island area, or even up to from Cataract down to Bougainville. They hear these things, but they still say that we are seamen. The message is, there's only one life. Avoid taking risk. When there's warning, stay put. When it's calm, start sailing. Listen to warning on radios, and listen and follow them. If you are traveling by sea, if you see a captain or crew members are drinking, they're trying to take you off, you have the right to refuse that boat to go. Even your parents say, we go. But you as a student, you see life is important. If the captain is drunk or consuming liquor, and he wants to cross over, you have the right to refuse. Say, Pop and Dad, I don't want to get on because the captain is drunk. Some of the incidents in Moon Bay happening because of carelessness. When you are in a cyclone-prone area, consider building a community-based cyclone-safe shelter. So that when anything happens, you go to that very safe building, everybody's sheltered. This can be a project for LNGs and national members. El Nino. Who knows what's El Nino and drought? When was the big drought in Papua New Guinea? 1997 and 1998. What happens when it's El Nino? Or when it's this drought? What things we lack? Sorry? We lack food. Food surplus reduces. Water. What else? Health is affected. and economy is affected. Coffee trees dying down, coconut trees not bearing, other things that people produce to get money, dying. As a result, they don't get the money. They don't give it to the pay tax. The government doesn't get the money. The economy is affected. That's drought. And El Nino is also supports the drought. It has its own phenomenon. It comes on its own. Maybe 3 years, maybe 7 years, maybe 13 years. Briefly, this is what's called biological hazard, but it's part of a natural. Any potential of natural buildup of non-human population, e.g. agricultural infestation, beyond the capacity of the given agricultural crop to withstand. If that's, for example, potato late blight in the highlands. When the late blight fungal disease came and got onto the potato crop, and that potato crop does not have the capacity to withstand that kind of disease, it affects it. So this is what I said, and it develops, so this comes under that biological hazard. It's also look at another thing like agricultural infestations, like, have you heard of a locust? Yes. In the Bible, it's the 8th plague. Yeah, you'll find that one. Down at Central and also Markham Valley. We have it in here. These are the natural things, part of the biological, it developed this and this. What's another thing? The last one. Of course, Hiv Aids. Is it a hazard or disaster? Disease. Any disease which goes out of your control becomes a disaster. And when it's a disaster, also another health people put it like a epidemic. But we put it as a disaster for the purpose of management. Hiv Aids, my personally, not a government view. Hiv Aids is a silent, slow onset, undeclared disaster. Hiv Aids, my opinion in Papua New Guinea, is a silent, slow onset, undeclared disaster. You have your own opinion, your right to argue about it. That's mine. That's not official, that's mine. You can argue to me, against me, that's your problem. If you support me, good on you. How to avoid natural hazards or disasters? All disasters, whether they are natural caused or human caused, are unavoidable. You can avoid them. However, the impacts and effects of disasters can be, that's it. If you are thinking you are ahead, 1 year ahead, plant a tree. That's all saying. Oh, just maybe next year. I have no time. The only thing I get this tree about to bear, I plant it so it starts bearing. So I don't know, wait too long. That's the sound of progress to look at it. And also it goes on to say, if you're thinking 10 years ahead, plant a seed. If you're thinking 100 years, educate the people. Papua New Guinea goes the same way. We look at our programs in disaster. First one is a rapid response. Second one is more mitigation. And the last one is development. Disaster is not only response. Disaster means total. It's a development. It's a before prevention. It's a mitigation. And it's also, do you have a marking pen here? It's a disaster. And then what is this pre and post? Prevention, mitigation, preparedness. This is the response. And then we have a recovery. Rehabilitation. RR, reconstruction. Reconstruction. It's development. If you're thinking of planting a tree for 1 year, you are always thinking about response. And that's what happened in Papua New Guinea. We look at disaster management within the response phase only. And that's wrong. We should look at it in totality. We should prepare for it. Part of prevention. You have to prevent it better than curing. Anything wrong, we have to, if that cyclone always comes to hit this island, I better leave this island and go to the other island. So that when it comes here, I'm safe. You are looking at this part of this mitigation. And you have to prepare. So when it happens, you know what to do. So your response becomes less. And after response, what's happened is Manam now. This is what happened is Manam along this area here. We are moving that way. But for Rabaul volcano, 1994, it affected the Rabaul. And now Rabaul has gone through trees, and it's in this phase here, development. So when you build up a thing here, next thing when disaster takes place, you are safe. Maybe before I conclude, 3 things I want to highlight here for tsunami. One is, it says shake. Number 1 is shake. Can I ask everyone to stand up? One is drop. When I say shake, you shake. When I say drop, you pretend to fall down. And when I say roar, you make noise. Not too much, just enough noise. Okay? Shake. Okay, drop. Okay, roar. Okay, enough. What it means is this. These are the signs you'll find about earthquake and tsunami. First, you should have a very strong earthquake. One of the signs you look at is sea, not slowly, but suddenly receding, going back to the ocean, the saltwater sea. Not slowly like 2 months ago, around Ella Beach, but suddenly, or very gradual, the sea is going down to the ocean. Within minutes, not within hours going back. Another sign you look at is roar. Maybe in the night or maybe daytime you hear like an aeroplane coming, like a jet coming from the ocean. In the night you see no light, but something roar coming, roaring there. It must be a tsunami coming. So the best thing is when one of these or combination of this take place, what you're going to do? Move up to the higher ground. Or if you're on lower ground, move up to 500 meters or more away from the coastline. For example, if you're around a bit, you can go up to the top of the hill. It's okay, down there. No need to walk up to 9 Mile. Any questions? So truth of science, shake, drop, Oh, and so then you remember, I said, these are the things for you to go. That's for tsunami. And may I make it clear, any earthquake within the territory of Papua New Guinea, there is no technology in the world be able to tell us that that earthquake is going to generate tsunami. No, there is no technology available to tell us that. Secondly, if it's going to generate a tsunami within the territory of Papua New Guinea, it is too late to advise the people because the movement of tsunami is so fast. By the time Geophysical Service of Papua New Guinea, Geological Survey of Papua New Guinea, Geological Observatory of Papua New Guinea determines the likelihood of a tsunami, the tsunami itself already hit in some of the islands. So it will be too late to advise the people because the tsunamis travel so fast and it's within the ridge. That's one point I want to make it clear. And if you can also as students, so tell it to your friends and families. Another point, you cannot tell when will be the next earthquake. Since earthquake is the most common that triggers tsunami, you will not tell when will be the next earthquake to occur in Papua New Guinea. The big ones, I mean. And not only that, but you will not tell whether that big earthquake will trigger tsunami. Can you understand that? You will not tell, no one is able to tell at present throughout the world, when will the next earthquake for the next 24 hours, the big one. Secondly, no one throughout the world currently will be able to tell whether that earthquake will trigger tsunami. So those are the difficult part. So the only best way for you and for me is, these are the signs. When you feel the sign, a lot of earthquake shaking your area, you must consciously and responsibly think that I have to take a precautionary measure by voluntarily moving away from the coast to a higher ground, away, a kilometer away. Be responsible for your life. Secondly, if there is no earthquake, but you see suddenly while having a picnic, water just go down, and you see some fish, maybe turtles, other things were on the reef, you'll be excited to go up and catch them. No, don't be tempted. The best thing is, instead of going up, head the other way around. Not to go to the shallow to catch, to find a shellfish or fish, but be responsible, take a precautionary measure, go to a higher ground. There's likely tsunami is going to come back. That's a sign. That's a positive sign. And you don't know it's going to be a big tsunami or small tsunami. So be responsible, take a precautionary measures. The third one, the daytime you probably see, but in the night when you hear something like a jet coming up, if you are close to the sea, take a responsible step by voluntarily moving up to higher ground. Is it clear? Yes. And my appeal is convey this message as clear as possible to your fellow students and to your parents and those you meet. Any questions? Who is from the highlands area? What are the common hazards in the highlands? Landslide? Sorry? Drought? You stand up, okay. Landslide, drought.
Landslide, drought, frost.
Frost. Anyone knows what frost is? I didn't mention this. Would be able to tell the rest? what's frost?
And the land becomes cold or really cold, cannot grow food. Food cannot be able to grow.
The best to understand frost is air, water turning to ice. And some of the frost hails, when the wind comes in, also hails together. And they become like blocks of ice falling. Sometimes it can hurt you. And when you put just remember, when you take your greens, cabbage or something from the market, when you go out, if you don't put it in the right place in the fridge, if you put it in the deep freeze, next day you pick it up and see. That the greens, it becomes useless. That's the best to understand about the effects of snow or hail in the highlands area. The cold particles like snow, something falling on the particularly crops and affecting the crops, killing the crops. When crops are killed, human being doesn't have anything to eat on, so it becomes a disaster in that sense. If no questions, any comments? If no comments, any answers? You can add. That's part of the answer. But or maybe experience that you have come across. You want to share it with your friends. Has any one of you came across to any emergency or disaster situation? No. Finally, thank you very much for your time, and also my pleasure in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kamnanaya, all right, the Assistant Director of the National Disaster Center. Thank you very much for your time in giving us the grade 8s and the grade 8s also out there, the community and the teachers, for giving us useful information on what hazards are or the difference between hazards and disasters. Okay, thank you very much, and we'll stop here. Grade 8s, teaching students and teachers. Once again, thank you very much. Right, can we all give a hand to Mr. Kamnanaya, please?
Okay, and that brings us to the end of our presentation.
Teachers, here is your reference for the next lesson. Your strand, substrand, outcome, the topic, materials, and your reference.
Good morning, 8Cs, receiving students and teachers.